Jacob's prophetic blessing. Jacob's final words of blessing, directed to his 12th son Benjamin, declare, "Benjamin is a ravenous wolf. In the morning he shall devour the prey, and at night he shall divide the spoil." The image of a ravenous wolf here speaks about how the tribe of Benjamin would become well known for their fierce warriors and mighty fighters in battle. Despite being the smallest of the tribes numerically speaking, they had a reputation for producing skilled archers and a long line of effective men of war. Benjamin's tribe would also produce Israel's first king, Saul, who came on the scene in the early years of Israel's history. When Jacob says, "In the morning he shall devour the prey," he is giving a prophetic nod to the early appearance of the powerful King Saul, who devoured and wreaked havoc on the people of God. The next line reads, "And at night he shall divide the spoil." This reference to night is speaking of the later days for the tribe of Benjamin and the appearance of another man, a powerful man, called Saul. This time it was Saul of Tarsus who came on the scene, who we know went on to become the great Apostle Paul. This man would divide the spoil, highlighting that Paul would take the gospel to the Gentiles and divide the riches of God's goodness to others. These words from Jacob are a prophetic picture that the tribe of Benjamin would start out like a ravenous wolf, powerfully devouring and destroying at the hands of many warriors and a powerful king. In the later days, however, the tribe would produce the Apostle Paul, who did begin as one who devoured and destroyed, but after his conversion went on to divide and share the positive things possessed through Jesus Christ. Last Days Study. Genesis chapter 49 is one of the most prophetic chapters in the Bible. The phrase, "the last days," is used 14 times in the Old Testament, and every time it's used, it's always dealing with prophecy. Rabbinical writers note that every time this particular phrase appears, it's referencing the last days on this earth. Jacob's words to his sons have had deep significance and meaning on many levels, and what we've been seeing going through this study is Israel's history from its beginning right through to the final days. These scriptures have revealed not only the chronological order of what has happened to God's people in the past, but also what's going to happen to them as a nation in the future, right through to the kingdom age. As Jacob blesses each one of his sons, he doesn't go from the oldest to the youngest, which was the custom of that time and culture. This indicates there is way more going on than we might first expect, and I found it fascinating to discover the story that's being unfolded through Jacob's words. We see Jacob prophesy the journey from the Messiah's first coming to the rejection of Christ, the dispersing of the Jews into the world, and finally, the restoration of God's people at the kingdom age. As I've mentioned throughout this series, this topic is huge and involves a really in-depth study. Too deep for me to delve into fully for this series. I've been summarising the key points with each tribe as the year has gone on, however, and so for our conclusion this month, I'll recap the details. Reuben was the firstborn, who therefore had great potential and privileges as the eldest, but was a disappointing first son who fell into immorality and adultery. This speaks of Israel as a nation in its earliest days. They were God's firstborn, but from the outset they became a disappointing son. As soon as they were birthed as a nation, coming out of the Red Sea, they committed fornication, like Reuben, and fell into idolatry with the golden calf. They turned their praise towards false gods, falling into spiritual adultery. Instead of representing the one true living God to the people, the nation betrayed their God and fell into spiritual idolatry. Just like Reuben, Israel was unstable as water and a disappointing firstborn people. Secondly, we see Jacob address Simeon and Levi together. He goes on to condemn their wickedness and remove their inheritance from them. Neither son inherited any land, and they were scattered as a people. So too, Israel was removed from their land as a nation, and they became a scattered or a dispersed people. This was the second phase of Israel's history. Judah represents the third phase of Israel as a nation, as after 70 years of being scattered in Babylon, Israel returned to their land. Part of Jacob's blessing to his fourth son, Judah, talks about how the scepter will not depart from the tribe of Judah until Shiloh comes. The word Shiloh is rooted in the Hebrew word shalom, which means peace. Jacob is saying here that from the tribe of Judah will come a man of peace, that man being the Messiah, Jesus Christ. Zebulun signifies the fourth phase of Israel as a nation, as the coastal region belonging to his tribe was conquered and the people were exiled. So too the nation of Israel became an exiled people as they rejected their Messiah and crucified him on the Roman cross. By AD 70, Israel no longer existed as a nation, and they were exiled into the whole world. The fifth stage of Israel's history is represented through Issachar, as they became an exploited people. During their time of exile, when they were dispersed into all the land, Israel became exploited and abused wherever they went. The nation of Israel comes up against the heavy burden of prejudice and persecution, and this is a devastating consequence of their rejection of Jesus Christ as the Messiah. So we've seen the nation of Israel go from being a disappointing people to a dispersed people, a delivered people, an exiled people, and then an exploited people. These are all the things that we can already see have happened in Israel's history. Dan goes on to represent what's going to take place for the nation of Israel in the future, the things still to come in our current time. Dan's tribe takes us to the tribulation period, and what we see through Jacob's words is that Dan represents Israel becoming a poisoned people, as many scholars believe the Antichrist will come through the tribe of Dan. The tribe of Gad then continues the story and shows how the nation of Israel will then become a persecuted people under the wicked hand of the Antichrist. With the tribe of Asher, we see Israel become a protected people through a specific stage of the tribulation, which is the 8th stage of Israel's journey. Naphtali then represents a time when the nation of Israel will become a preaching people. This tribe lets us see that after the Jewish people have accepted Jesus Christ as their Messiah, Israel will be let loose like a deer, preaching the good news of the gospel and taking the beautiful words of salvation into the whole world. The tribe of Joseph then speaks of the virtuous ruler, Jesus Christ, who will come on the scene towards the end of the tribulation, which brings us, finally, to Benjamin. After the return of Christ at his second coming, there will be a victorious remnant left from the nation of Israel. As I mentioned earlier, Benjamin's tribe was the smallest numerically, and so too in the last days, there will be just a small remnant of Jews saved. Zechariah 13 verse 8 tells us that during this time in the earth's history, 2/3 of the population of God's people shall be cut off and die, but 1/3 shall be left in it. Verse 9 goes on to declare, I will bring the 1/3 through the fire, will refine them as silver is refined, and test them as gold is tested. They will call on my name, and I will answer them. I will say, this is my people, and each one will say, the Lord is my God. What we see through this whole journey of Jacob's prophetic words to his sons is God's incredible plan of redemption and restoration for the Jewish people. There will be a remnant of Israel who will profess Jesus Christ as Lord, acknowledge him as their Messiah, and go into the kingdom age. Benjamin's tribe represents the Jews who will go into the millennial kingdom, showing us clearly that Israel will be restored. God will not forsake his people, and he will fulfill the promise he made to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. God made a covenant with them which he will not break. And it's worth considering. If God could break his covenant with the Jews, then he could break his covenant with us. The God of Israel, our Saviour, Jesus Christ, is faithful. He does not break his promises.